with Brian and a report from the audit committee.
Thank you. I'm going to take the report as read, if I may, just highlight the one issue, which the biggest issue we felt in terms of the control environment, which was the follow-up concern the report. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't get gentle reminder, which I know has happened to executives, the importance of following up on recommendations. I know that happens, I understand the system. The major issue was the system of following up on reports, which the committee asked Matthew to have a look at. He had a sort of informal conversation with Matthew offline. And the next sort of committee will consider a proposal just to tighten a little bit, because I think we felt it wasn't providing assurance on the complete circle process. I think that's the audience position to assure us that the next meeting that that's on time.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Right, thank you. Is it coming up?
I've already said we've got a coming plan.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Right, then the next report is from the charity committee, which Karen and I will add. I was expecting Altok to be here to actually feedback on this, so I'm going to assume the report is read. Happy to take any questions. The main bulk of the meeting is actually about the next item that we're going to talk about in terms of charity independence. It was obviously my first committee meeting I've attended. I thought it was really positive and constructive, and there's lots of opportunity for this charity here at Bradford. So it was a great meeting, fantastically chaired by Altok. I'm sorry he's not here. Has anybody got any questions on the report? I think actually the other material point we noted was that the accounts have been approved. Yes. So yeah. Okay.
Just to add the bit around the work we're doing around the new unit appeal and the business case, so we provide the costing original. This is a accommodation for parents whose babies are on the unit, and the original business case and the cost of the scheme was significant. So we've done some work on revising those costs down. They are much more manageable level. So hopefully we'll be able to progress as well.
Yeah. And that's going to be a fantastic scheme to bring them as extra parents. So it's going to be a massive difference for families. Okay. So with that, so do you?
Yeah, I'm just going to introduce this item first, if that's okay, Chair, and then I'll be passing over to Sharon and Michael. So obviously, colleagues that before being aware of the work we've been doing around the case for independence. This came to the board about a year ago or so, and in principle there was an agreement for us to undertake some further detailed work, which was to look at changing from the current corporate trustee model to a potential to move to an independent hospital charity. We were asked to look at that from a number of different perspectives, and the case we used is the 5-case model, which looks at strategic, commercial, economic, financial management aspects of the decision making. And what we will be doing today is running through some of the details of that. You've got the details that the case that outlines the benefits, as mentioned, and this stuff moving to independence. But the recommendation we're going to be looking to make, and this has also been discussed at the Charity Funds Committee, through that EGM, etc., where it was supported as well, is to approve the conversion of the hospital charity to an independent charity. So Sharon's got an overview presentation, just so that people are prepared to make points. And Michael's here as well, and if there's any technical financial questions, Michael, if those are then we'll run through the detail of the presentation.
Thank you, Saj. Hello everybody, I'm Sharon Milner. I'm currently Director of Bradfordhospitals Charity. For those of you that don't know me, I was previously Chief Exec of Yorkshire-based charity based in Leeds for 16 years, and I've been on a couple of boards as well with various charities, one being Yorkshire Sport. So 20 years in the sector. I've been with Bradford Hospitals Charity since November 22. And here we are, March 2024. Initially, we explored independence, played around with it, what we think, as you know, and that came to the meeting in January and March 2023. April, it came to the board, and an agreement was arrived in principle, as we know. So what I'm asking today is it business as usual? Do we stay as a corporate trustee model, or do we convert to independence and launch around about April 2025? That's the key questions, really. Just moving on from that. I don't want to do death by PowerPoint. There's 5 sort of key areas. Just want you to pull out a few key areas which I think are really important, and 3 is fundraising opportunities, and I think we'll have more opportunity in the positive side if we do become independent. And when I say opportunities, I'm talking about relationships that we perhaps don't have now with trusts and foundations, with high net worth individuals, with really big corporate organisations. And the reasons for those is because, one, we've been a very small charity without much of a brand, and we've not really had anybody such as myself in position to push the brand. But when you look at other hospitals that have gone independent charities like this, we've seen significant change in growth in their income, and the report sets that out. So, you know, I just think that, as Sarah pointed out, the opportunities for this organisation are really big. Workforce and agility, we know things are tricky, we know it's hard to recruit, we know it's hard to get these roles that we require over the line. You know, I think as a charity, we have to be looked at differently. And, you know, just looking at my past experience, in order with a low level role, you would take 5 weeks to advertise the role and be able to appoint. Here we're looking at 3.5 months. You know, that's difficult at best. And if we are expected to bring in big numbers, we need to be able to move quickly in terms of decision making and getting those over the line. And that's been quite an insight for me over the period of time that I'm here. And when we talk about agile and focused, I'm talking about releasing us from the demands of the hospital. The hospital is very busy, and we can move much quicker. There's lots of change that come around to go through, lots of excess paperwork to go through. It's the way it is, but we could do better, I think, you know, if we became independent. Because I think the sort of speed it affects people that's working in the organisation, morale-wise and culturally. When we can move quick at pace, which most charities want to be able to do, that's what they aspire to do, we motivate our staff. Just moving on to the next slide. This is the sort of boring bit in the way, the legal framework, but nevertheless very important. So we have a CIO model and we have a CLG model. Now, the company limited by guarantee is the model that 30 NHS charities have gone for. I won't go into the detail of this on the basis that the bullet points are there, but I think this is something that we look deeper into if we go to the memorandum of when we go to the memorandum of understanding, and we'll leave that to the lawyers to talk to the board about in further detail. Just very conscious of time. There is also page 3 of the business case that sets out a more clearer direction if you want to look at page 3. Now, just moving on to the financial part of the presentation. As you can see, there's a slide there. We will see a significant growth of our income, and for reasons that I alluded to earlier, which are door-to-door giving, trusts and foundations that we can apply to without any pushback, because we will be a legal entity in terms of the CLG and the CAIO. And I think that does absolutely instill confidence in organisations that are wishing to get involved with us. And I've talked to these hospitals, shouted about this, and various other ones actually, to say what was the difference between before and after. And I've had those deep dive conversations. You know, when I wanted to bring this forward, I haven't just thought this might be a great idea. I've really gone out there and talked to various charities and really drill down to what improved. And one of the things that really improved for Leeds and is continuing to improve is the door-to-door giving in the lottery. And that really improves their income and also their visibility, their brand awareness as well, which is really, really important. We did some great work with finance, with Johnny on this and the modelling, and I think these figures are pretty realistic. What we have to be sure about is we need the people to deliver this. We need a high-performing team. You don't get anywhere. It's like a business without teams that really know what they're doing, with a clear strategy, with a clear plan. And we also need strong capital projects, and these are conversations I talk to Nicola about on a regular basis. The MNU, I am so delighted that this is getting over the line because it will motivate the people, it will encourage people to apply for these roles if we have a capital project that is so meaningful, tangible, and some people want to know where their money is going, and when they see it and watch it being built, it's very, very inspirational. And it's something that we should be aspiring to. We need to align with our projects team and say, what can we do to make this better? Not only does it increase the brand awareness sort of locally, but internally as well. It helps staff really decide what sort of charity we are. And often people say, we don't know that charity exists. Well, we have to change that. But the only way we change it is with good volunteers, with high-performing teams and with capital projects that we really believe in. Just moving on to the next slide, that just gives an increase in the pound on investment in fundraising. As you can see, that's an improved trajectory, which is what we want to see in the return for ROI. And but we're just moving on to the benefits of autonomy. And again, I'm not going to go through all that, but the key things I did want to touch on again is HR. It is an issue in the agenda for change, because sometimes we overpay staff and sometimes we underpay them as well because of the bandings, because our sector, the charity sector, doesn't necessarily fit with the NHS. And when the NHS get a pay rise, they don't necessarily want to take the best pay rise because it might not be relevant to that individual, but yet they're having a pay rise, but there may be issues. So it's really complicated. But by being independent, we're more in control of that, of the salaries and our internal structures and HR. And then just touching on finance again, you know, I'm used to running an organisation. I have finance, I have fundraising, I have marketing. And at the moment, I don't have finance fully under me. And that's been an interesting one because I'm so used to that. But again, this is the way it is. This is the acceptance. This is the thing. But do we want to continue with that model, or the independence model brings everybody under something like me, which is much more effective. It's like again like running a business, and that's how I see this job: is running a business with all my people under me, motivating them and inspiring them. I can only do that when they're in the room and when they're with me and when they're focused, and holding people to account in a constructive and supportive way, and a kind way. And then there's decision making on charitable spend. Gosh, this is a tricky one. 170 trust funds that we have, and yes, so people do use the money as their own, and these are trust funds that sit within different departments, and quite often I'm not so sure we should be funding some of the things that come forward. Now there's the work to be done on that. We will be reducing these trust funds, and rightly so, and that's in the plan regardless of the things, and rightly so. But there is that, this is our money, I want to spend it, and there's a real challenge. And I think if we take all that things and put it into our charity and unrestrict it and keep the restrictions in, like legacies where needed, we can work with this. But the most important thing is that we have a plan for expenditure, that we have a strategy and a goal for this money, that we absolutely know what our objectives are year on year. Where do we want to focus? Well, we know where we want to focus at the moment, and that's MNU. But what about the rest of it? It's very complex because we're not looking at one specialty, we're looking at several specialties. And I think having an independent board with independent skills can help us do that as well. So that's something that we really need to consider. Just moving on to the summary. I think We independently provide freedom to act, which I was working. I did extensively wider fundraising opportunity, significant financial benefits for the charity and the trust. You know, the one thing about this situation is I want to align more than we do now with the trust. I think it's really important to understand what our strategies are and how we align with that. And I was going to present a strategy to the board at some point, but I think we need to make a decision on this before we get to the, you know, the strategy part of things. So I don't want the tail wagging the dog. I think we should make sure that this decision is made first. But really important point, and the ability to work separate, but with a really robust legal framework with the CLG, with a separate board, with the subcommittees, with people that are willing to invest their time, that have great expertise, and they're not distracted by that specifically. So I'm getting carried away. So what I'm asking for is that the board approves the conversion of Bradfordhospitals charity to an independent charity, and then just touch on next steps with you. The project plan is quite well developed in the time frame. I believe that's within the papers as well that you've received. And then the commencement of the chair and trustees, the shadow board, as set out in the paper. Just thought going over the key areas that I think we're going to go to start. That memorandum of understanding is so important, and getting that right. And many of the charities that have converted have said the same thing as well. Stating the obvious a little bit there, but nevertheless. And then QP and HR processes, we want to make sure our staff are okay. The good thing is we haven't got many of them, so it's not like we have to tutor over 20, 30 staff. You know, it's not, but we have to get that right nevertheless. And then the third party providers, which are those things. I've done this before. I understand what that looks like and how it can work, and it can work really well with HR independent providers and IT and all those things with our own email addresses and things. So yeah, and just to say, the intention, as I've mentioned before, is April 2025. Go live. Did I do that?
Thank you.
Just to add that, the cost of the mobilisation phase, we've estimated at £115,000, and that's the cost of moving to an independent charity. That covers the cost of legals, etc. that we'd have to do. And the mobilisation plan would be something that we would legally take to 9 months. So it would be, if we got the approval today, it would be April 2025 before we think we'd be ready to become an independent charity, simply before things that Sharon's outlined in terms of being able to do in terms of creating the right legal frameworks and making sure that board is happy with the articles of association and the memorandum of understanding as well. I think just in terms of the financial benefit which is out there, which is in the paper, but just to extract that a little bit, and Michael will probably pick up on this, we believe the difference between independent charity versus the trustee model over the 5 years that's been modelled on is approximately £1.1 million positive by being an independent charity. And that's, as Sharon said, as a result of being able to access money and charitable areas that we as an organisation are not necessarily able to access.
Yeah, so over the next 5 years, we do expect to see what we call a J curve. So the first 3 years will be investment to create the platform to create the independent charity. And the remaining 2 years should be an increase of £500,000 per annum, which will then continue to do so, or we will have further opportunities to grow.
Fantastic. Okay. Just before we come in for, I've worked with an independent charity before at Sheffield Children's, and the agility and the responsibility and all the points that you made, I can absolutely see. The important thing was we did go through a lot of time when we weren't aligned with the trust. So keeping that alignment, strategic alignment between what's the ambition of the hospital trust versus what's the ambition and alignment with the charity is absolutely key. So you do need to put the time to get that right. So did Paul wants to come in then?
Yeah, no, it was very clear about the days in general. It was just a fixed cost base point with a smaller organisation. So again, it's on the declaration, independent trustee, Yorkshire Council Research, so we're a much bigger organisation.
Yeah.
But one of the conversations frequently is about justifying the balance between the amount of overhead on the organisation and the invested pound as far as
Yeah.
people believe they're getting to a good cause. And I'm just, it's, when we're having wider conversations about the necessity perhaps to look to shared service type models around corporate services, it feels slightly like it's going the other way. And I just wanted to check that I was missing something in terms of the fixed cost base for us. But what will still be in the first instance, quite a small independent organisation.
Yeah, it's always a question that trustees want to talk about, isn't it? You know, the costs and, you know, this is, again, it's about the MOU, you know, are we going to have our accommodations free for a long period of time? You know, what are we going to charge for the phone costs? So, you know, those conversations, I know at Leeds, they're not charged because they're classed as the, you know, significant amount of money into the organisation and into the trust. But yes, I think, you know, it's like in a business, you've got to go through the pain, haven't you, the growth to get where you need to be. But it's a challenge, and it's, we can make those assumptions, we can do all we can do on the modelling, but until we get out there, I go back to that low hanging fruit, those massive opportunities, the people that I speak to that really want to get involved. I think we can fly on the basis that we have the NHS behind us. You know, to the outside world, you know, we're pretty much badged up as aligning with this hospital, and many people want to be involved with us because of that alone. But we've only scratched the surface, and you know, it's a nice problem to have. You know, is growth and costs, because it means that we're doing well. But does that answer your question, first?
I'm sure it's been fully, I don't think there is an answer. Your answer is it's a resident reward scenario, which judgment do you want to make forward? I just wanted to clarify into that argument.
Yeah, I think it's there an appetite for change, isn't it? I think as well, you know, do you want to stay as we are? And if you do, you don't need a role like me. That is a sharp, because I'm expensive, and you don't, you know, or do you go for it and you become independent and you throw everything you can at it, and let's look at the modelling of success. You know, those are the two difficult questions I think you really need to ask yourself.
So I've got 3 more comments I'm going to gather in.
Sorry.
Before we come back to this one, we need to make a decision. So Fahim, and then Karen, and then Zafir.
So mine's a really quick one. So I know we've talked about staffing and HR and processes. How do you make sure there's still good governance and good values within how we employ staff? Because one thing we pride ourselves in, and the board is clear about how we value our staff.
Yeah.
So how as a board would we be assured that actually, if we were to go with a separate charity, independent charity model, that we could still have those values and so.
No, so I want to hold the question. I'm going to come back to you in a second. So Karen,
2 very quick points. First of all, I with an independent charity, also not quite about being aligned. So I'm assuming that some of the trustees will be representatives of this board with the new charity, and that's to help get that together. The second point is a technical one that I'm hoping Michael can answer. I'm aware we invested a considerable amount of money in long-term investments. Will that automatically just transfer over?
again, we'll come back to that in a second. Zafir.
Sorry, I have 3 questions. One, from a governance decision making, do we need approval from the Department of Health or not? I know there's a link in there about conversion. Secondly, just taking back to the step, how the 2025 trust in the UK, how many are independent? Is it the 2020?
Yes.
And the third question, you have to stand or what if it just doesn't work? What's about?
Right.
Right, that's a good question.
So between Sharon and Sam, you can just rattle through those for us.
Shall I touch on the HR one first, Sam?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, so great question for him, and I think it's really important that that this was addressed. So we, in the past, I've used an organisation called Peninsula HR. We get our staff handbooks and our policies, and we ensure that they're all correct and legal. I used them for 16 years, and they're fantastic. Another one is Corona, they're the sister companies. And in my personal experience, they've been terrific. We have to ensure that our internal processes and policies are robust in the way that we recruit. But I think, you know, the most important thing is that you have the person at the top that holds those values, that you have your values set out of the organisation. But I think, you know, you have someone in with experience that really knows what they're doing. And that can ensure that the HR is delivered legally and properly with all those, you know, all those processes in place. And I've proved that that can work in the past over the last 16 years that I'm using these organisations. And we also have to ensure that they have someone, I believe, with a HR background on the board as well, that's holding us to account for those things. I think a trustee is really important, and we have the subcommittee meetings that cover HR and remuneration, ensure that the policies in place as well.
Yeah, agree. Okay, Matthew, did you want to look at long-term investment?
Long-term investment. So the corporate trustees are currently invested around 1.8 million with Rathbones in terms of hoping to get some income and growth from that investment. So there is an opportunity to transfer that into the independent charity in the same arrangement. There's a bit of admin to go there, but the independent charity will need to review what level of risk it wishes to take. So there will need to be a conversation around what level of risk and what type of growth they would wish to take. So short answer is yes, it can be done, but a few considerations to make in terms of what kind of risk it wishes to take.
Yeah, and the memorandum of agreement will agree what trustees are on board, and we need to make sure we've got the right skill sets to do that and linkages. Department of Health approval?
Yeah.
Do you need that?
Yes, we do. And the legal firm that we're working with will take us through that process. It's been simplified in recent years because so many are doing it. Interestingly, I've had 4 conversations in recent months with organisations that we're aware, looking at it and then wanting to ask for some advice. So we know that more are looking at becoming independent, just to give you that insight.
And I think we'll find a number and we'll come back to you. Backup plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think like anything, there's a real risk, isn't there, that things don't work. First instance, even now, for instance, if we weren't bringing enough money to cover the costs of our staffing, we would start to pull our investments out and pay for the costs that we've got. Under the independent charity status, that's exactly what would start to happen. We hope that actually this model gives us the strength that we wouldn't need to be in that place, because what we can do is grow the income. But the legal framework will be what protects the individuals who become the individuals that are on the board of the charity. Effectively, ultimately, is that the charity could fall if it really didn't work out. That's no different, for instance, internally. If we had to pull all of the assets that we've got, all of the investments we've got, and pay the staff at one point, we would have to make a decision to whether we financially viable or not.
Okay.
Sorry, one
Sorry,
very
John.
quick last point. Sorry. In your list of policies, and obviously don't account for policies, so that's something to consider as well.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Council account
Council
for
for
policy.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, very important in charities, and it happens quite a lot. Just to answer the question earlier, it's 30 charities that have become independent. Okay, that
Right, that's great. Right, okay. I know this has been considered for a long time now, the short term, but it's a really important decision. Are we at a stage where we can approve moving to being an independent charity? Happy to approve that. That's an enormous decision. Thank you for all the hard work that you put into this. It's just been amazing. Sharon, thank you. Matthew, thank you. All right. So,
that's my long. Thank you.
thank you.
See ya.
Okay, I'm going to move this swiftly to fit and proper person. All right.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be brief in introducing this, and then if I miss anything or I get anything wrong. So as we reported to bodies in September, and it's England published the fit and proper person framework back in August, and that reflects CQC Regulation 5. It's obviously not had identification checks in place, so that hasn't changed, but it's about strengthening the arrangements that we've had, and this is in response to recommendations of the CARC that we've used. So one of the requirements is to fully implement the framework by 31st March, and we need to complete checks for each board member in line with the new framework by and submit to NHS by June. So we're on with that, and I'm sure you've all been contacted by Sarah and Pete's office about providing the necessary information for that. There's just a few areas outstanding, but we are mostly there. I think it's a few DBS checks and some of the statutory training that is still completed. But other than that, we're not too far away, so we will meet that deadline in June. And those checks will need to be signed off by Mel, the execs, and Sarah, and then the state signs off the chairs checks as well. Another document which has been recently published is the Leadership Competency Framework and Chair Appraisal Framework, so I just wanted to highlight that to the board. So again, this is in response to the recommendations from the CARC review around having a set of specific competencies for directors. I won't read them all out up there in the page prep. So we'll use this as part of our recruitment processes, so they'll be around competencies. It will be built into our appraisal processes for board members, and also we're considering development opportunities, and have been advised that NHS England are going to publish a 3-year roadmap setting out their initiatives that they'll put in place to support managers to meet these competencies. So that is everything, and it's just for them to taking questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all right, to know we need to hit that deadline, so yeah, good from that. Okay, thank you. And under any other business, for him, I'm sorry, I didn't have the glasses on and I missed an agenda item earlier.
So I don't know how we feel, but under looking at draft people, I think the one thing to mention is a new initiative we've introduced. So for bank staff, we have introduced this case. So what staff can do, we go to work bank shift, they can access 50% of that money immediately. So it just from a giving the sort of position in terms of cost of living, etc. It's just adds another financial problem that we cannot have. Is run by an organisation that I think it's a not-for-profit organisation. This is both people that are pay, I think it's £1.95 that they have to pay to access that, but they can access either one shift pay or 7 shifts. So they don't have to be that one charge at all. And they see really good use of that already in terms of first of all, so that going on. So it's making a difference.
That's fantastic. Right.
Was there any thought given to the trust bank? Was thought given to, we haven't considered that if I want to try and say to actually being that because it is an array of options that staff have in terms of what they can access. And I guess the other side of it is actually whilst this works for bank staff and staff doing bank shifts, it introduces a level of inequity for staff who don't do bank work or professions there isn't bank work available. So we do something for one group of staff that wouldn't necessarily do the same problem.
Maybe something to consider if we take back on.
I think it's an organisation. So those issues should lead to what we do now. To take it was long process. Get it sorted and then think about put at the table and the benefits of the trust actually supporting staff actors in their own. We think we are positive.
Yeah, we'll take that well. Okay, thank you. Any other business on the table? Okay, so issues, cross issues?
Yeah, so I've just noted, obviously we'll have the session around the financial and operational plan and the capital plan. We'll need to go to the financial plans having to approve them. That's all I've noted.
Okay, and because of time, I'm conscious of the decreases, probably we need to leave it go. But if I'm sure this is probably felt a bit different to previous board meetings. I've welcomed any feedback, as well complete that and have to switch the agenda, paper, everything, how it's felt, you know, in terms of your ability to get airtime and contribute as well. So please, reviews, welcome. Okay, so we could close this public meeting. Our next public meeting will be on the 9th of May.